small finger.
And we've already started, guys.
That's my butthole.
Well, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Water Hole. We've got one of our famous members with us today who actually gets the job done, I think, more than I do, Justin. He gets it done quicker, at least the
my
last
standards
couple
are
years.
a little bit lower than yours. I shot the smallest buck in my life this year. So
Standards are nothing but limitations, Kurt.
That's true.
Remember that.
That's true.
Standards. Dude, I guess let's go ahead and just start right there. It's a great place to start because... Dude, a big buck is a big buck, and an old buck is an old buck, no matter how you slice it. I mean, let's just cover that, Justin. You know, you haven't filled your tag yet this year.
Thanks for the reminder.
We're talking old bucks right now. The bottom line is, if you go out this week and a spike monster buck like Kurt shot comes by, are you going to shoot it? Are you going to? There's no question that it's like you're just shooting. Yeah. I mean, if it's a big mature buck, broken off antlers, all of them are broken off. Doesn't matter. You are all in shooting.
Yeah, I don't care. Kill it.
Justin's at that point. Let's go. We're filling the freezer
it's
now.
December, dude. It's time. No, I've always taken exception with like the people, and most notably, it's been like the TV crowd, I guess, through the years that have been like, you know, we're shooting mature bucks. We only want to shoot mature bucks. And then they'll be targeting a specific like mature buck, and it will break half of its rack off or something. They'll be like, well, can't shoot that one now. Right. And it's like, well, were we targeting it because he was mature or because he had a big rack? Right. And it's fine. I don't care. We all want to shoot big bucks, and if that's what you're doing, just be honest about it.
Well, and
I think there's a lot of people that hide behind.
100%. Well, I'd noticed somebody had commented on our Instagram reel of the spike buck, and
there was more than a couple comments.
Yeah, there was a couple, but there was one in particular. I remember it was something along the lines of like, "Why didn't you just let him go out on his own?" And I'm thinking to myself, that deer had 200 inches of antler on its head. You're not letting it go out on its own. So at what point are we just, a mature deer's a mature deer? I got a tag in my pocket.
You did tell me, though, that buck looked up and looked into your soul.
He did.
When he looked at you.
He knew. You knew that deer was old because when he looked up, he knew he had made a mistake.
So let me ask you a question, Mr. Kurt.
Yes.
If Illinois was a one-buck state, are you still letting that arrow fly?
That's a tougher conversation.
So the answer is probably not. Just be honest.
In particular to
this is the room of honesty.
Hey,
Kurt.
in particular to this one property that I'm hunting, we do kind of have a rule of one buck per person that we try to take. And so I knew in that moment.
Don't try to weasel out of it.
I knew
Just
in that moment
yes
this could be
no.
my one buck. So
but you also knew that you have other places to hunt.
That's true.
The door was not closed.
Right. It wasn't fully closed, but. It is definitely an interesting.
If you have to answer the question, if we were a one buck state, does that buck get a pass, or are you burning your one?
My
tag?
girlfriend would have appreciated me burning that tag.
I feel like I'm talking to Graf right now. You're just dodging the question. You should be a politician, Kurt.
Maybe I would say I probably would have taken it. Honestly, it was such a perfect. I mean, everything just came together the way the plan.
But that
worked.
happens with me with 1.5-year-olds all the time.
Yeah,
and does.
Where I can't even get a doe in front of me right now. So.
I struggled earlier this year. It took me till end of October to actually get a doe down. But
I didn't want to shoot a doe this weekend because it was gun season, and I didn't want to go through the hassle of having to drive all the way to the registration station. I was like, dude, I am not dealing with that for a doe. So I'm like, I'm just not going to shoot a doe.
I drove by the registration center twice. It was slow.
What time of day, though?
Yeah, I mean, one was 3:30, so I guess that'd be the wrong time.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And then the other time was like 9:30 in the morning. So that's when I expected to see it loaded up, but it really wasn't.
No, it's always evening.
Yeah,
evening time is when everyone just piles in. But
well,
first and second gun seasons are now over in Illinois. We still have to get through muzzleloader.
Going to have to go to a couple celebrations of life because Todd and I lost one of our big ones this weekend.
Oh, son of a
We
bee.
did. A super big buck.
Neighbor killed it?
Yes. Yep. I got text messages from several friends, so I got it from multiple different angles.
When that phone goes off during shotgun season,
it's
not the big split one, but the other one. Yeah.
No, it was.
He's
it's the one that you wanted. You would have rather got that one, maybe even than the
I
other
think
one.
so. Yeah. I mean, he was definitely the older deer. He wasn't quite as big as the big one that we're after, but I mean, the 116-inch deer is 116-inch deer. So Would have been very
R.I.P.
happy. Yeah, exactly.
Didn't make
Rest
it.
in peace, Finkel. I got some sweet trail camera videos, and a pumpkin patch saved him this year, or I should say Apple Orchard, Edwards. Saved him on October 7th this year.
That's where he was?
Yep.
No, you were.
No, that's where I was.
Yeah. Say, where's this apple orchard that this buck's hanging out?
Happens you get a girlfriend, and all of a sudden
It
they're
was
like,
early October cold fronts, and so next year we're going in September.
Dude.
apple orchards are the dumbest thing.
They're made
ever.
for children, not 30-year-old
completely
adults.
agree.
Yeah,
I like apple orchards. I'm going to disagree.
You're like a chick.
So what?
that doesn't surprise me.
I will admit it. I like
Drink
going
your
to apple orchard.
hot chocolate. And
No, dude, you get the
Pet the
hot
goats.
cider. You go pet the goats. You feed some animals. You grab
or
some
could shoot a
apples.
160-inch deer during a nice cold front in October. I think I could hedge my bets.
Kurt, for as long as I've known you, it just seems like it's either a wedding or this.
It's-
you got a lot.
Kurt's a popular guy. He's got a lot of friends, a lot of things to do.
I was
a lot
in
of
South
social-
Dakota literally
Yeah.
yesterday hunting pheasants. So
Yeah, see,
I'm missing out on hunting seasons for
popular
more
guy.
hunting seasons. So.
Yeah, but
See what happened while you were gone?
Yeah.
One of your bucks.
One of
got
my
killed.
bucks gets shot. Yeah. Thanksgiving was another big daylight activity week, and naturally you gotta go do what the family wants to do. So,
Kurt, you are
yeah.
in the last episode. We did talk about your ability to use your mouth and calls.
Yeah.
Really use your mouth. Kurt. We
Dude,
talked,
I know,
we
I
talked
heard
a lot about
it.
that one.
It came out wrong, and I know Brandon didn't let me backpedal it, and I think we rolled with it. It really came out wrong. But no, dude, you're good at it. You are. Can you make a grunt?
With my mouth?
Yeah,
No.
try.
No.
Just try for fun of it.
I don't know what I would even
Just
do.
try. Just try it.
I
Just
feel
try.
like
You gotta
nothing's
try. I mean, like, dude, let's
I
say,
feel
like-
like my brain's saying, like,
I know,
you know
it's-
what it
it's-
sounds like, right?
Just try.
It's a lot
Yeah,
easier
but it's
to
gonna
do
come
it
out
when
like
you're- yeah, when you're on the right
That's all it's
stage.
gonna
Here,
come
I'm
out like.
I don't know what to do. Now listen to Kurt.
I don't know if I could do it. The liquid death might have a
No, come on.
stage fright.
Did that work?
Just dude, if not, we need to find some of
Best
your.
I got.
Let's see.
Are you breathing in?
I suck in. Yeah.
Try it again.
you
Just
do.
do it again.
It's-
Now do your Snort-Wheeze. Do Snort-Wheeze.
Your Snort-Wheeze needs work.
Yeah,
I've been
your
meaning to talk to you.
Snort-Wheeze was-
You do this little.
Yeah. Have you ever
No,
heard a deer
aggressive with it.
Snort-Wheeze?
They're pissed. It's a
lot of
triple-
times they don't do
I
the-
hear yours a
the-
lot of
the
times,
three.
and it's kind of a. It sounds like you're like just blowing.
You're blowing him a
little,
kiss?
Little, yeah.
Hey,
Little squeak.
that
Dude, a lot of the
Josh's
deer
hunt,
I've
it
heard
swung and came in.
Snort-Wheeze don't do like the triple.
It's
they
like a
just do
double.
like, or
It's
just a single.
Right. It's
Just a straight.
It's a what I've noticed because One-Eyed Willie, when I shot him in 2021.
Listen to us idiots doing this right now.
bad. Yeah.
I could Snort-Wheeze with
in-
my mouth.
in
All right, let's hear your.
2021.
Okay, one at a time. Go ahead, Justin. Let's hear your
No,
Snort-Wheeze.
where he's telling a story.
I want to
we
hear.
all just did
all right,
it.
Go ahead.
So 2021, that buck in particular, he was just pissed. Like I heard him snort-wheezing when I was still setting up my saddle that morning, and it was one of those where I'm sitting there with the GoPro running, just begging for daylight. Like I need camera light because this deer's pissed. Obviously, he was rubbing a tree. Finally grunted him up and over the hill, and he snort-wheezed and grunted several times, and it was kind of cool just to see how the whole interaction was playing out. He was looking at a buck and a doe on the opposite ridge chasing each other, but also wanting to fight me in the process, so he's kind of halfway in between us. But I would just grunt at him super quietly with my mouth just to kind of keep his attention going, I guess. But he would grunt super deeply and then and hit the snort-wheeze. And it was just really cool audio just to, kind of something that I call in a lot of deer. I'll be the first to admit, like every single one of my bucks I seem like I grunt at. I just can't help it. I'm a turkey hunter by heart. So I don't know. It's cool to just go and look back at some of that footage and kind of
Okay, so here we go.
You can
Let's
paint
say
that picture.
It's a frosty morning. Here we go.
November.
It's November the 3rd. First hard frost. We're sitting there. Brandon.
The
is a
three of
big-
us are just sitting
The
there.
three of
in
us
a
are
tree
sitting in
together,
this tree. We're
all
sitting in
hanging
this
out.
blind
Do that.
vine.
That would be fun.
And there's Brandon, the big buck. Let's hear your first grunt. Let's go. Do it.
Well, depends on how far he is.
Dude, he's only
No, it
he's
is,
70
because
yards,
if he's-
man. He's 70 yards, and he thinks there's another buck
If
behind
he's a
you.
poke, I'm hitting him with my my no bull grunt call for sure. That
Okay,
call.
Right now
that,
we're talking about your mouth, but let's go with your mouth here.
Okay, well-
let's hear your mouth first.
I'm really
we keep
uncomfortable
doing
right
this.
now.
I wasn't.
getting
I
uncomfortable.
wasn't prepped for this. Yeah, see, I can't.
He's
It's
under
the
pressure
liquid.
now.
It's the liquid death. I'm telling you, I got too much.
It sounds like a creaky door opening.
The bottom line is I've heard you do it,
Yeah.
and we can maybe.
Brando's getting it.
I just need a.
That sounds like a fawn.
You got a little froggy throat here going on. That's
All right.
That's the problem.
Well, I've heard you do it before, and it works. Because that day that we had that snowy hunt on top of that, you were doing it for me above there. And dude, it was freaking awesome. It was awesome. So, and the Snort-Wheeze, you're not doing the double or triple, Justin. You're just going to straight.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of deer Snort-Wheeze that don't do, because I hear a lot of people when they Snort-Wheeze, they do the double and triple like that.
Yeah,
and dude,
yeah.
I've heard a lot of deer just like just one.
But is it? So most of the ones I would say I've seen in person have at least been the 2 or 3s.
Maybe 2, but I've heard a lot of them, especially when they're together and there's like a buck and there's. A lot of times the bigger one, in my experience, is kind of just standing there and the little ones are kind of moving around and he just kind of is like pissed off. But I've just heard that like, just I feel like that piece of it is the most important piece.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they do drag it on for a while. It's not really short.
Where I always get scared with that is they whip their head so quickly around every single time.
Oh, the minute they hear it.
That I don't want to drag it out too long because they're going to just key in that that's 14 feet up in a tree on the ground.
I feel like a lot of the grunt calls that have the Snort-Wheeze tube or whatever.
They don't sound natural
enough.
It's
really hollow kind of sounding and dry.
Yep.
I was like, and it's such an easy call to make with your mouth that like I've never felt the need to use that.
I've gotten plenty of volume to Snort-Wheeze at them 100 yards plus, and they hear it every time.
I'd say the one exception to that would be, I forgot what it was even called. Do you remember there was like a Drury Outdoors grunt call? I think it was HS and Drury Outdoors, and it looked like a deer skull. Kind of was like a molded skull.
Was that Flexstone? I felt like Flexstone made one where it was like
I don't remember. But I almost felt like you were blowing into the deer's nostrils to like make the Snort-Wheeze sound. That one I kind of liked. The problem with that call, it was so damn bulky and huge that I just didn't like carrying it around. I like the more traditional grunt tube.
Yep.
I've been rocking the Flexstone this year. I like that one. Yeah, I forgot what it's called.
Listen, there's one thing for certain that I think the three of us will agree on, is calling works. And at the right time, it works. Yeah. Even whether you're good or bad at it. I know I just got ripped on for not being good at it, but you know what? Whether I'm bad or good at it, that last one I did you know what? It still got his attention and turned his head.
I've tried to count back last year how many bucks it was. It's nearly like 95% of the bucks I kill with a bow, I've grunted in. And it's
pretty high.
It's for a lack of patience, honestly. Like if I have a buck that's not directly coming right to me, I'm almost like guaranteed to grunt at it. I mean, this spike buck, did you hear how many times I grunted and Snort-Wheezed at that poor deer? It had to have been 25 grunts and 2 or 3 Snort-Wheezes. And it eventually just got to
the point. On the spike buck.
Yes.
We're going to play that at the end of this. Brandon, you find that footage and we're going to play that at the end so people can listen to it.
Yeah. Between that one, I mean, soda pop. Piebald I did not last year.
How about rattling?
Rattling, I'm hit or miss on. So this is gonna.
I've never even seen you carry rattle antlers.
I do.
Once I hit in the ass.
Yeah, once I hit late October, I will.
I like them.
So I rattled in a big one. My buddy Trey, the one that kind of stirred some insider trading with photography skills this year. I went back. I went back with them. I went back with them here. It was probably mid-November. It was right before the first gun season, and he's got one big 7-pointer that he's been after, and we went back, and we were kind of just like looking at a spot to maybe set up a stand. And I had the antlers, and I'm like, what the heck? You know, you and I have had plenty of success doing our run and gun on the ground.
We did. Remember that one year?
You just have better luck on the ground because you can mash the antlers into the brush, and you can just sound more realistic for sure. And we did that.
No, dude, you can. What's that look for?
100%. 100%. Up in a tree is a totally different. You can't move around.
I feel so good with Kurt being here where he can argue it, Justin. That this feels so good.
Well,
I'm just gonna let you duke it
regardless,
out.
we were bashing on the antlers, and within 30 seconds, I hear something coming up the logging road trail towards us. So, you know, you're kind of expecting it to just be one of the smaller bucks, whatever. Of course, out of the 40-acre piece of property, here comes that 7-pointer, the only deer we rattle up, and we were just not prepared for it. Trey had a branch in front of him. There was no way he could draw, but it was as easy as if we treated it.
You were on the ground.
We were on the ground.
Like the way we did it that one
100%.
Remember that one running in on us? That was freaking
I
awesome.
thought that was a big deer. It was a nice deer, but I thought it was a real big one. You yanked me down to the ground. That was good. It was fun. Rattling's fun when it works.
On the ground, Justin. It works way better.
We should go try it sometime, Justin.
I'm just still really uncomfortable with this podcast today.
It's all about knowing how to use your mouth and knowing the right tone.
Kurt down on the ground while you guys are out hunting together. I get it.
You can always tell when someone's jealous. Well, Justin,
super.
I know. All right, Justin, someone made a comment on the last video that we did that said, Justin, just go out and shoot a doe.
It's so easy, isn't it? You know what? As the older I get, the more, I will say, the less I want to shoot a doe. Because I just, I don't know. I've had opportunities this year. I look at them and I'm like, there's no purpose in me shooting that doe. Other than being like, I want to kill something.
Man,
but I got meat. Dude, the cost of getting a deer butchered anymore is freaking outrageous. Yeah. So every time I look at one of them, I'm like, is it worth whatever time it's going to take that I have for the rest of tonight and tomorrow to deal with this thing? Is it worth $300
and timing
and an hour to drive to the butcher shop? And do I have anything to do tonight or tomorrow? What's the temperature? There's a million things I think about every time there's a doe in front of me, and somehow I just talk myself out of doing it. Plus, we always bitch and moan that there's not enough deer around. So it's like, do I really need to shoot a doe? I don't know. I still might.
No.
Just because I'm in that, I want to shoot something. But
I get it.
It would have to be, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, 20 timing, yards broadside.
The timing thing is big. When it's
nothing else
when it's
to do
warm
today.
Weather, exactly. You're looking at the future. It's
no apple orchard
I can't
trips.
Make this, right. I can't make this happen.
No, but it's true.
I
get it. Yeah.
Because when I know
my wife's like, we have to go to the Christmas tree lighting ceremony tonight after you get done hunting, and there's a doe in front of me. I'm like,
right, or it's
probably not
when
worth
I get
it.
home, or
or it's the gun season. You don't want to be, to have it go haywire, and you got to track it down. I get it.
How far am I from the truck? How wet is it?
Yeah.
So how far back in
can
here
I drive
can I
the truck in? Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think about.
Yep.
I've killed plenty of deer. I don't.
Right. If you got a full freezer of meat, I respect that.
Well, that's the other thing. When kids shot a deer, I got a full freezer from that.
Right.
I'm still working off some of the deer we shot last year. It's
all right. Hey, listen, someone was just trying to make a suggestion, Justin.
And we don't have anywhere to
up.
donate deer meat around here anymore.
No.
It's not a.
Do you have
does
to
not
debone
exist.
it, or
There is nowhere within I don't know how many hours.
I think we found one somewhere.
Yeah. You can. There's places.
We got a place for you.
Yeah, way the hell out there. I'm not going out there. I'm here.
Come visit me once in a while, and we can debone some meat.
All right. Oh yeah, it's so much fun. All right, Kurt, this one's for you.
Oh,
I'm ready.
Whitetail versus turkey. Hunting.
Automatic.
Kurt's favorite.
100% turkey. I could give up deer hunting very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot more work.
What?
This conversation of shooting a doe, having to think about your future day, blah, 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 blah. Turkeys are fun. It's beautiful weather. You go sit on the ground. You can hear them up in the tree. You have a sense of hope. It doesn't always work, obviously. But
it is nice.
It is nice knowing that there's a chance.
I always say, imagine how much more attentive I would be in my tree stand if I could hear
the
bucks
deer
in the distance.
Just grunting at the storm, yeah.
And I knew one was there.
Right.
That's the thing with turkey hunting. You hear one and there's always hope.
Right. And if he shuts up, maybe he's coming. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. And that was my first thing growing up doing with my father. We turkey hunted. I was 3. We did a fall turkey hunt, got a bird. I called it in, which was pretty dang cool. I was definitely more talented back in the day with animal calls before puberty. So I bought my first bow.
Before puberty.
Yeah.
You said you had a video of you actually.
I should see if I can find it. So our town does a talent fair show. So I got as a little 6-year-old Kurt.
I did not have that in Schaumburg, Illinois.
I won
a talent show for making.
Well, you don't have the Elizabeth Fair. That's true. The World's Fair is a special place, but. That's how I ended up actually getting my first bow. Was I won $175 at the talent fair show, and I bought a PSE Outlaw. And
what did you do to win the money?
I did turkey calls, elk calls. I brought a vacuum hose on stage. deer,
Like, is it like a
chickens.
bugle?
Yeah, bugling. I mean, I did everything. It was pretty awesome.
Can I go in the garage and get a vacuum tube right now?
I can't do it now.
You can't.
$175
dude,
is
you
a
got
lot
like
for a
stage
little
fright
kid.
the moment he got. You
know,
can't even
you
do a
will
grunt call
actually
right
laugh
now.
at that, because when I did win that year, I had pounded a whole bunch of Mountain Dew or something, because you're a kid and you're at the fair, and I went to let the first bugle out, and my voice just cracked. It was terrible, but I think they were just like felt bad for me and like, get this kid off the stage, give him his money, he won't come back.
What Kurt didn't tell you is he was the only participant in the talent contest.
Yes, but no, 100% turkeys.
Go ahead, Justin. You had some things that you wanted to bring
turkeys.
Yep.
We asked that question to a lot of folks at the NWTF show.
Yeah, we did
last year, and a lot of people said turkeys, which naturally.
I mean, you're at NWTF in February
I don't know,
thinking
it's
about
just-
turkeys.
it's such a- Like that's such
You
a
joining us this year?
a
I
befuddling
am.
answer.
I will be gone partially during the weekend, though, because of a wedding that so happens to be in Nashville that same weekend. So
oh man,
kind of works out.
can I be your
Gonna be a
date?
party. I'll have to ask Kayla. Maybe we'll bring
Tell her to
3.
stay home.
All right. Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead.
Oh man, what are we going off of here?
Whatever you want. You got your list over there. We can bring up Kurt.
What?
Make a decision
I'm
quickly.
just here to
Wha-
stir up a ruckus.
Oh, rocket.
No,
Well,
well,
let's
then this
talk
is always a
about-
good one.
What's that?
Don't
which
let him
one?
see it. I don't want him to be.
I mean, I have the list
the
right in
top
front
one
of
of
me.
the mechanical Broadhead.
Yeah.
one? Yeah. Well, that was an article that I just wrote. That just published on bowhunting.com. I was a
saw
little
that.
late on it. It was called "Why Mechanical Broadheads Get a Bad Rap." This is a good one for Kurt because Kurt's a weight weenie.
I am
Oh,
a weight
boy.
He's a
Here we
ranch.
go.
He's a Ranch Fairy subscriber over here.
I have subscribed.
So
I've dove into the heavy stuff. I mean, I won't say I'm nearly as far as those guys are into it, but
how much is your arrow weigh currently?
this year 560 I think is where I'm at.
Graph, how about you?
14.7 FOC.
Dude, I don't even know. I'll be honest with you. I don't even know.
And he still fills his tag. And that's kind of
I
the
don't
point
even
that
know.
I've always brought up about the arrow thing is like guys go down these rabbit holes of gear,
Yeah.
whether it's arrows or anything else.
100%.
And they get like hyper obsessed and focused on kind of like one
So
thing.
here's my thing, and I know you and I have talked about this because we talked about it when we were down
This
in
is an
Kentucky.
argument every
We
way.
debate.
Go ahead.
It's not even
We
an
have
argument.
healthy
It's a
debate.
So
debate.
for me, the best thing that came from me kind of going down this rabbit hole was, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not super tech savvy when it came to like, I don't have a bow press, tuning bows. That whole thing was pretty foreign to me. I mean,
There's a lot.
I
That's
trusted
the same for
bow
a
shop.
lot of
That's-
people.
A lot of people.
That's most people.
Right. Yes.
And so I trusted the bow shops to give me my bow back, and they said it shot great, so I'd shoot great. Well, then when that started to go downhill with like, oh man, fixed blades fly like crap, I just blamed it on the fixed blade. I didn't blame it on the fact that my fletchings were making contact with the riser. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole of just shooting expandables and lightweight because that's the natural next
And
step.
I think at the time nobody really knew like
right.
lightweight.
right.
You know, like
wasn't
arrow
a-
weight wasn't a conversation.
Yes.
Like you would just go get a dozen, carbon arrows.
I never looked at spines.
Nobody looked at
You-
spines.
You
or
grabbed the one that
grains
had
per
the pretty
inch.
fletchings that matched your bowstring. Like,
Or the coolest graphics.
Or like whatever the
100%.
shop told you, which
Yep.
in a lot of people's cases they were giving them like a 400 spine arrow for
Yeah.
a lot of people,
Right.
which was probably underspined.
Yep.
Right. So I do think there's been a lot of good to come out of this.
Sure.
And I've always said I'd rather have somebody air a little bit too heavy than a little bit too light.
Right.
When it
Well,
comes
and
to their
and
arrow.
for like in my standpoint, 99% of the deer I shoot are sub 25 yards. So it's like for me, arrow trajectory isn't on the
Sure,
like
it's
that's
not a
that's not a
huge
thing.
deal.
That doesn't matter to me. So where the arrow building and everything, I started building my arrows. I started to play with fixed blade broadheads. It got me to tune my bow because if the fixed blade wasn't flying right,
Sure.
I got to figure it out. So I figured it out. And then the other thing was sharpening broadheads, and that took me to a different level of like I used to just be the take it out of the
Open the
package, throw it in.
and- sure.
And as a kid, like we didn't buy replacement broadheads. You like it, maybe if it had a couple nicks, you ran it on a little diamond stone or something. I didn't. There was several deer that I threw arrows through that had no business having that broadhead on the end.
I could not believe just the people that I talked to in like today's world that still did that.
Yeah.
Like shot arrows into targets or into deer.
Yes,
And
yeah.
then
Go
just
hunting.
cleaned
And
them
then just
off
go,
and
yeah.
went hunting with
Yeah.
them. I was like, wait a minute.
And I mean, that's
Who
the
does
difference
that?
between.
a lot more people than you would think, dude.
That's the difference between. I mean, like in your case with your buck this year, that hit an artery that was running in its leg there. If that broadhead's not totally sharp, it pushes it out of the way. You don't get that deer.
Sure. So when I started bow hunting, before I started bow hunting, I went to a bow hunter's education class, which was different than hunter ed. And we didn't know it at the time. My dad had signed me up for this class. It was bow hunter's education. It was put on by the Illinois Bow Hunter Society, which isn't even a thing anymore, IBS.
That's nice.
And well, what I remember, and I will always remember, is the guy that taught the class was talking about broadhead sharpness. And he had a scale, and on top of the scale was a coffee can, and stretched across the top of that coffee can was a bunch of rubber tubing. And he had a sharp broadhead.
And this guy made an impression.
And he had a dull broadhead, or a dull-ish broadhead, right? And what he did was he did two different things. So with the rubber bands, those were simulating like arteries, veins, something like that. And he's like, hey, let's take the dull broadhead first and let's push it through. And guess what? It just pushed them all out of the way. Right? Didn't cut any of them. And then he's like, hey, now let's take the sharp broadhead. You start pushing it through, and ding, 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 they all start popping, right? So that was like, okay, number one. And then number two, what he did was he stretched a piece of hide over it, right? And then he pushed down on it, and he showed how much force it took to puncture that hide with a sharp cut-on-contact broadhead versus a dull one, right? And the amount of force. So again, those two things left a huge impression on me. And Todd, if you remember, dude, when I started working with you, dude, I hated mechanical broadheads. I remember, I will never forget, you shot a deer with a Spitfire, and I was like, those things are junk. Like, don't shoot those things. Like, I grew up.
I feel like that's everything I do. Justin says either junk or wrong. Or
it's also your chili that you made today.
Yeah, my chili today.
Dude, that wasn't just me. That was our entire office voted you last place.
That's
it was more of a stew.
Yeah. You even kept some on your shirt there.
Dude, I got chili all over me. I ate so much chili today, it's ridiculous.
I'm feeling a little.
But in any case, like, I think broadhead sharpness. So I think there was probably 4 or 5 points that I brought up in that article, and you touched on 2 of them already. The number one problem with mechanical broadheads is that people do exactly what Kurt talked about, right? Their fixed blades don't fly right.
Yep.
They don't know what to do. They don't understand bow tuning or arrow spine or anything. All they know is that they've heard people tell them mechanical broadheads fly like a field point, because that's how they've been marketed to people. And so they take an arrow that's not flying straight and not flying true, and they stick a mechanical broadhead on it as a solution to their problem. But they didn't really solve their problem.
Mechanical is requiring a certain amount of, kinetic energy.
So
if your arrow's not hitting it
impacting straight, you're
sucking up even more.
Suffer,
yeah, 100%.
Right, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with mechanical broadheads is that people love to blame the broadhead when they see the bad penetration.
Right,
and it's like there's so many other factors that go into it. It's not necessarily the broadhead's fault.
And so my other thing is just structural integrity too. That I shot a turkey one year where my broadhead blade.
To be clear, you're shooting fixed blades.
Yes. So this year,
this started off with weight of arrows, but now we've kind of morphed into.
I have been fixed blades primarily since I think it was 2020. 2019 was the first year I was on the show. I was shooting kill zones. I got pastors, but I was also, you're 3 inches back, right through the ribs. You're typical, like, if you're perfect, you're in the lungs. Yeah, but if you're low, like Todd has done in the past, we've been on some goat rodeos with Tracker John before.
We have.
I've been on my own there. So
but if you're going to do those, like, wouldn't you prefer to have a bigger hole?
Yes, but now I'm not aiming
John
behind.
Told me, thank goodness I had the bigger holes.
I'm going straight up the leg most times than not now. The amount of, like, my piebald video of me shooting that buck last year is, we just need to keep posting that. That causes more controversy.
Everyone's like, terrible shot.
Terrible shot, deer's not alive. Well, I have a picture of his heart with a perfect arrow through the middle of it.
That's because I got the deer a couple weeks later.
That's because people on the internet know everything.
Yeah, that's true. But
experts.
But yeah, back to the whole arrow thing. So, like, I had shot a turkey with an expandable, and the broadhead was
turkeys
mutilated.
are hell on expandable.
They are. But I mean, at the end of the day, a turkey's sternum is not nearly as thick as, say, a shoulder bone or of some beef. So my thing is, you're back to that conversation where you were stabbing the sharp arrow and the dull arrow through hide.
That's cool.
That broadhead, regardless if it's a fixed blade, expandable, whatever, is not getting any sharper as it goes. So say you're shooting a deer quartering away, now you're pushing through 3 ribs. All of a sudden, that expandable blade like I had on my turkey that gets folded backwards and twisted, that's what I'm trusting going through what could potentially be a marginal shot. I guess here's my argument that I've had, and it's not so much an argument, but expandable is afraid of the front shoulder because it does lose that battle. Not that fixed blades win it every time, but, we're placing odds here in a game of inches. So if you hit them back, like PJ Riley loves just gut punching, baby. Put the hatchet through the guts.
Oh, poor PJ.
I mean, he said it, not us.
Yeah. But, if a fixed blade's going back there too, it's also going to kill it. So I guess for me, I feel like my highest odds for my small, short-range whitetail shots, shooting a fixed blade gives me the higher odds in all ends, And a big thing with archery is confidence. I mean, confidence is everything in this sport.
I agree.
Where if you go in it having negative thoughts, thinking, "Oh God, I hope I don't hit that thing's shoulder," you're probably going to hit that thing's shoulder.
I wish more people thought that, because there's way too many deer shot in the shoulder.
Right.
That is for damn sure.
So I don't know. It's one where I'll never tell somebody they shouldn't shoot an expandable, because I've killed plenty of deer with them. But I've also had my instances.
Where are you right now? What's on yours right now?
I carry both.
He's always strapped.
Yeah, my quiver's got both. I tune my bow, and I do all of my tuning and sighting in with fixed blade broadheads, because I want to make sure my arrows are flying
as accurate as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I put a mechanical on, there's no issue with it, and I know my arrow's flying good. So, but I'll say this: so we got some of those new Easton 5.0 arrows.
Yep.
They had very limited selection available. Just because we are getting kind of some of the pre-production ones. I really wanted a 300 spine. If I would have known you were coming today, I would have brought you. So I got some at home, some 250s.
Yeah.
But regardless, I really wanted a 300 spine because it's a little bit heavier grains per inch, and I would allow me to put the full 75 or more up front and break the spine down a little bit, because I normally shoot a 340. So they gave me some 340s, and I'm like, well, I can't put too much weight up front on these things, because I'm already pushing it on spine.
Sure.
So I put the 55 grain tips on those 340s. I cut them maybe an inch longer than I would normally do. But again, I didn't want to go too long because spine issues.
Right.
And those arrows right now are weighing in with lighted nocks and wraps and everything like 425, which is a little bit light for me. I would like to go shoot a deer with them. So I've got fixed blades on those NAPN games.
Sure.
On those. I'm also, on my other setup, shooting an Axis that's like 460, 470 grains, and those I've got mechanical heads on right now, Spitfire triple X's. So I feel like if I'm under 450, I really don't like the idea of shooting a mechanical.
Sure.
I like to be that 450 to 500. That's kind of the sweet spot for me.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I mean, I feel like there is a push towards, if you are shooting the expandables, having a heavier, arrow setup.
Sure.
Definitely is,
Yeah,
and that's helping you. That you get more.
Yeah, I mean, if you're worried about penetration, right, go with a little bit heavier arrow to push that thing through there.
Right, offset.
I
that
think
energy.
Again, the problem was like when all this stuff first started coming out, there wasn't as much information. Like I said, everybody was running to the store, and what were they buying at the time? Probably, Beeman, ICS, Carbon Hunters, Gold Tip, Pro Hunters, Carbon Express Maximas. All very lightweight, standard diameter
aluminum insert,
with aluminum insert in the end,
16
and
grains,
set of blazers on it, and off they went.
Right.
And they would throw a Rage or a Spitfire or something on the front and go shoot a deer in the shoulder and be like, "What? No penetration? This thing sucks."
Right.
So the thing that sucks about like the mechanical broadhead, like people they give them a bad rap, is like so much of it comes when an animal's not recovered, and they're like, "My broadhead failed."
Right.
And it's like, well, dude, we didn't recover the broadhead on a lot of cases, or
I'll
the
tell you
arrow, or the
thing,
deer. So we don't really know what happened.
Or how about when they do recover it? Most of the time, when you recover a mechanical broadhead, how do you find it?
Oh, closed. Whole thing.
And then I'm telling you, I was with somebody this year that had
they're like,
first
dude,
thing.
it never
opened.
And then you show them where it opens up, how it makes the indent in the back, from pushing through something. It's like, no, dude, it opened. You can see these little dents right here. Right. Those are not there.
And then when it came through the other end and it stopped, those blades folded back.
Right.
Or as it backs out, if you didn't get a through and through shot.
Right.
I mean, it's especially like a Spitfire blade, as that backs out, that just closes right back up.
Yeah, when it pops back out.
I don't know.
I just feel like mechanical broadheads, like a lot of people love to shit on them right now, and it's just there's so many things you could be doing to increase the performance of your arrow setup.
Right.
right, that would make those mechanical broadheads perform a lot better for a lot of people.
Yep.
But they just, like, again, they're like, their arrows aren't flying right. They're shooting something that's too light. They're shooting dull blades. Like, there's a variety of things that are going to mess your arrow performance up.
So both of you guys right now are sharpening your broadheads no matter what.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Immediately out of the package.
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you.
I have not been.
I did it for, like, all of Joey's broadheads too.
You got a little tip for people? A certain stone you like to use, a certain thing you bought to do it?
So this year I've been shooting the NAP deep cuts. And so that you can,
that's right.
That's super small.
One.
Yeah. And so you can back out the screw, you can get the individual big blade itself out. And then I have I think it's called a Stay Sharp guide. It's magnetic. You run it, on whatever the bevel is of the broadhead. So I basically just take a permanent marker. I run the edge of the broadhead so I can see how exactly that stone's going. I'll run a couple passes with a 600, an 800 ceramic, and then I leather strop it. And it is terrifying how much sharper it is. I mean, and they're sharp out of the box, but it's
out of the box they'll kill a deer.
Right, exactly.
100%.
Right. When you start talking about those gains of inches,
I use a sharpener from KME, I think the name of the company is. It is a pain in the ass to sharpen those little tiny blades.
Yeah, the bleeders
I will
are always
say.
tough. Yep.
So like Joey's shooting the Thunderhead Nitros, so then those have tiny little blades when you take them out. But I mean, dude, I disassembled 5 broadheads and I sharpened every one of those freaking blades and put them back in. And again, because I knew, especially for him, like he's shooting 44 pounds, 400 grain arrow. Like it's not optimal, obviously, compared to what an adult shoots. So I'm like, I want to give him every advantage possible, And then for me, like the buck that I shot last year was a Spitfire XXX that I had previously shot something with, a deer, turkey, I don't know. I got a whole box full of XXXs that are covered in mud and blood and hair and feathers. And I just grabbed one and I pulled it apart. I cleaned the whole thing. I cleaned all the little clips and everything. And I took all the blades and resharpened them, put it back together. And that was the deer I shot last year, which interestingly enough, like that deer bled out, right? If you remember the blood trail, and I look back and like, obviously it cut something in there. And again, like you'll never know for sure. If I would have just shot him with an out-of-the-box broadhead, would have had the same result? I don't know. Right. But I like the fact that I knew for sure like that thing was shaving sharp. Yeah. And in the end, like it may have made the difference. It may not have. I don't know.
I'm sure it did. Yeah,
but it's nice. It's nice to have.
Right.
So I started.
Well,
doing that.
Listen. Comment below. I'd love to hear if more people are sharpening their blades out of the packages.
Please
I just wish everybody would
deer.
make their blades sharper out of the box.
Yeah, that too. I don't understand why that is such a difficult thing for broadhead companies because it is scary. I've seen some come out of boxes where it's like a butter knife.
Well, comment below. We want to hear, and we will make sure that we put both Justin and Kurt's links to where you guys are buying your little extra sharpening stones and your process and so forth. We'll get that from you guys. So.
I used to hate doing that stuff.
I
enjoy it. Like,
give me a bush light and a little YouTube hunting show, bow hunt or die preferably. But like, I'll just sit there all night.
Speaking of that, did you watch?
I mean, you're making Brandon, I think, fall asleep back here talking about sharpening.
Let's talk about YouTube shows. Did you watch the Seek One movie?
I did. So actually, I'm
gonna watch it this week.
On the drive back from South Dakota last night. It's
worth the watch.
11 hour. Oh, totally. It was 11-hour drive. So I'm like, I gotta kill time with something.
Scott was
falling asleep behind the wheel. So I got through an hour and a half sitting in the passenger seat watching, and then it turned into I had to listen to the second half of it because Schaefer fell asleep. And next thing I knew, we were about in the ditch. So
yeah, those guys, dude, they do a hell of a job.
It was awesome.
Amazing.
2.5 hours. That sounds very daunting to sit down and watch it. But as you got into it, I mean, it was from start to finish, the entire, like, I don't even know if they cut a single scene because it was every single time he went up there, he saw the deer, every scouting mission, every tree stand, every finding its sheds, every trail cam
How is he
setup.
Finding these deer?
He's got a hell of a network. I wish somebody would come to me and show me 200-inch deer, and I'd go try to kill them. I probably wouldn't successfully do it, but
because I mean, did you listen to the Hunter podcast that Spook Span was on?
Yeah,
when he talked about how he finds all of them.
Bucks, yeah,
like I don't know. Do we not think this is the same thing happening here?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I heard, but what do I know?
I don't know.
This is just what I heard from people talking. I don't know.
Dude, the guy you can.
I mean, regardless of how you find the deer,
Right.
the amount of work. That
I
goes
guess I'll
into
just throw it
and
out there. If
skill.
no one else is willing to do it, hey, you got a buck here in Joe Davies County you want killed, give me a call. I'll throw some cash out for it.
specific
Screw it, why
county?
not? I mean, if no one else is willing to say it, I guess I got a tag to burn. You
Yeah.
got some a deer? Call me.
Definitely.
847-344-0020. I'll give it out
You're
there.
totally getting some weird stuff sent to you.
yes. This is
I
gonna be
can't
great.
wait. Yeah.
All right, we'll beep that out.
But it's the guy is a killer. I mean, you can
No
pick
question.
on it. You can pick on the whole suburban deer hunting and
Well, we
saying
talked
that they're
about-
pets, but dude, those deer know that it's just like
Dude,
our deer in farmland.
yeah.
They know who the farmer is and they know who the hunter is. 100%.
Yeah, I don't know about that pet thing because I mean
Yeah.
I have hunted plenty of deer in suburbia, and dude, no way, man. They're smart
Dude,
still.
and
I
look at
mean,
how stressful that whole situation that you're in is. That's having to knock on doors. You're hunting like probably a quarter of an acre.
Yeah.
What happens if you put a poor shot? I don't know. It's not for me. I appreciate my,
No, listen, we talk
more
about this all.
sizable
I mean,
tracts of
Justin and I
land.
have talked about this a million times. I mean, there is something about. Well, I think we even talked about this in one of the podcasts just a couple of weeks ago. I mean, there's something about getting in your car and going to an area that's just bigger and you have more room to roam and you're not watching people mow their yards. You're not getting dressed on the side of the road and you're getting looks from people like, what are you doing over here? Dude, it's
4
just
a.m.,
totally
yeah.
different. It's just different, and just. When I go out west, gosh, I have a lot less hunts that get ruined because of just dumb stuff that happens. There is a different feeling. That suburbia hunting is not.
Well, and so this buck wasn't suburban. It was rural, and the work that he put in. I mean, he found it where it was kind of wintering, built his base off of that. And then it just turned into constantly going up in the summer, figuring out where it was in the summertime, making a game plan from there, doing it early because you got to beat.
It's so much easier when you're in a state that you can bait too.
Well, so
At least for locating and trail
right.
camera data and
Yes.
all those
Yes.
things.
I 100%. But
Are you kidding?
the opposite of that is obviously now you've got all sorts of competition that is doing the
100%,
same
yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and this buck
You got to just feed them better.
from what it
Well, that's what it's turned into, right? It's just a contest of
is, you're kind
who
of
could put out the
defensively
most
baiting.
food.
Yeah.
That's what people tell me
But-
about
but
Kansas. I mean,
this deer, I mean, he kind of disappeared on the first track that they were after, and then he kind of just slowly built the puzzle together until the point. I mean, this deer, I think he shot it off of like a tiny. I correct me if I'm wrong. It was like 2.5 acres or something. It was a tiny
you
little
just
block.
got done watching it last night.
Yeah, I know, but it was 11 o'clock at
small.
night, and I was driving, so
it.
it was a tiny piece of property, and he went in there and bumped it twice out of its bed right next to his stand. The one time they knew it was in there, they had the cell phone, cell camera footage of it sneaking in there in the morning, so they knew he was in that block. And they tried to sneak up the tree, and I think he got 3/4 up the tree and spooked it. And it's like, dude, talk about deflating a 212-inch deer. You just spooked it out of its bed for the second time in a couple weeks.
But he does go on to harvest this year. I've not seen it yet.
Yeah, and it's a giant. It's a freak of nature. I can't
It's a
even
big deer.
fathom. I would cry. I would cry.
I mean, I think about good old Sweetness over there. I mean, just thinking of that puzzle and then and then you remember meeting the people that were filming. I think for the juries at the time who was actually
I think he still
they were
films
hunting the same deer and just and the different property that he was on. And I mean, it's just it's crazy how these deer do just travel and how people know about them. And now technology. We didn't have technology back then like we do now. Like we had trail cameras, but you had to check them. You didn't have as much of the cell stuff.
Social
going
media
on.
gets a lot of deer killed. I mean, I follow Illinois. It's like an Illinois hunting page. There's the Wisconsin Rut Report. The amount of photos of people like, hey, look at this big buck in Portage County, Wisconsin, sitting out in a bean field. You know how many people are now like, Portage County, let's look at some maps, some photos. But I mean, that's a lot of what I think Lee does, finding stuff like that. And then obviously he's got the network too of people that are finding them for him. So
the question is,
kudos to
are
him.
they paying money to get those phone calls? I don't know. I've heard a lot of people tell me that money's being spent, like with the spook span situation.
That's for
Booker
sure.
was at least cool enough
Yeah,
to
he was
admit exactly what
no
he's
shame.
doing.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
just
I
went
don't.
right for it.
I'm not judging. I mean, listen. If you got the financial resources and you want to kill a big deer and you're not getting,
here's
why
the thing
not?
that sucks about it, and I think that Jared and Jeremy did a nice job of talking about it on their podcast, which is like, dude, it sucks when you're Todd Graff and you've spent a ton of money on a farm.
Why are you gonna make this
and
about
you're
me now?
and you're trying to have a place to hunt or
Yes.
whatever, and your neighbor knows there's a big deer, and all of a sudden, he's calling the hitman in for 10 or 20 grand or whatever they're paying to just fly in, who's got no attachment to the land, the area, the people, the property, no consideration for all the other people around that have worked their asses off for this, and they just kind of come flying in and kill this deer.
But to be fair, they're putting in work. They are putting in work then
and then they're
season.
gone. But then they're gone.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's not the same work.
I'm not saying it is the same work, but it's not like they're just hopping in a tree and shooting the damn thing.
If anyone should be passionate about this, it should be you knucklehead. You do this for a living. You work hard and
100%.
Hours and hours of.
Yeah, but work's still work.
Forget about the hitman. I mean, dude, sometimes I just even feel that way just about. Maybe I don't get in trouble right now. Just neighbors who just own property next to me where I'm doing all this work, and they do, and they're able to, they do zero.
There's definitely some,
right. I mean, it is. I guess it is the love of the land, I guess, that makes us do that, and we're trying to give back. I mean, in my dumb brain, I think I'm giving back, but sometimes I think I should just maybe shoot more deer and not worry about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
I don't know. But
either way,
that doesn't change what I said about Joe Davies County, though.
If Lee comes, if there's one thing I've learned,
if that dude shows up in your neighborhood,
yes, if he knocks on your door, tell him no, and then just start looking. Just put a camera out because you have a 200-incher somewhere. I'm confident of it.
Or give us a call. Maybe we'll outbid them.
Show up in your neighborhood. Look out!
You don't tell anyone that they showed up, and you start hunting.
Well, I mean, that is a conversation that Justin and I had just this morning, and we're really running out of time here, so we'll keep this super short and brief. But it's kind of the loose lips sink ships, right? I mean, we were having this conversation just briefly this morning, just about relationships that can get lost, people acting like they're not sharing
the
information.
Amount of relationships that have been ruined by deer hunting.
Yeah, that is a shame. Yep. It's just dumb. It is dumb, and
I'm lucky I don't think I've had one of those yet. We all got to have it at one point, right? Feels like it's
I don't know, Justin. I mean,
I
go back and I think about the years when me and you and who else were we sharing that lease with? Doesn't matter. We had a lease, and then other people had portions. And I mean, there was even some times when within that own group, people weren't sharing different photos. Even in in our little piece that we had, which is where you hunt today. We had it broken up, and then there were a few people that wouldn't share pictures, whether it was Baconator or whatever, of the deer we're chasing. Like people. Yeah,
dude, it's one of those things that I hate cameras, because I was just thinking about it this weekend when Finkel got shot. I'm thinking to myself, like, before trail cameras, you didn't know how many big ones were on the property or near. So, like, the neighbor shot a big one. Oh, good for him. There's probably like 10, 15 more. I don't know. The 30-pointer might still be out there. But now when you start seeing them drop like flies.
Over here, there must be one.
So you start seeing them drop like flies, and it's like, as much as I love those cameras, man, the mystery is gone. And, it starts to hurt a little bit more.
That cat's
more.
Out of the bag, right?
Oh, yeah. It's here forever. So he just dance with the girl you brought to the party. So I don't know.
Yeah, Todd and I were talking about that just recently, though, because I went into this year, because I'm always thinking on a lot of these properties I hunt, like, dude, next year's going to be a banner year. Look at all these awesome young bucks, and if this happens, and in my mind, like, next year, every year, it's going to be next year. And next year
then
never
the junior
comes.
high moves to a different high school, and they never show back up.
And then it's just like, son of a, we had 4 really good 3-year-olds on my one farm going into this year. And I'm like, hell yeah, they can't all get killed, can they? Well,
apparently
there's only one left. I'm like, son of a bitch. Now there's one left. And like Todd and I were saying, I got this one big deer here not too far from the office that I got pictures of last night. So I know that he made it through gun season.
Our corporate office in Ohio, of course.
Yeah, of course. And,
clear.
And it's like, yeah, that's great. I got pictures of them. We're hunting them. But between just the guys that hunt on our lease and the guys that hunt next door and the guys that we know there and the guy with the blind over there and the guy over there in this block.
And the few that you don't know.
In this block, there's a dozen hunters that I know of that are all going for this one buck. And we're not talking, he's not a 200, he's a 155, 160. He's a nice deer.
Right.
But there's 12 dudes all out there trying to kill this one deer.
And that's the amazing thing is I don't understand how they can slip through those cracks.
I don't get it, dude. This son of a bitch has slipped through either right in front of me or right behind me more times than I can even remember now.
Yep.
And I'm just like, and this is like, I feel like I'm addicted to gambling, right? It's like,
Call the number, I need help.
I keep losing, right? But it's like, dude, eventually one of these times it's got to
happen.
It's got to hit on my number, right? I just keep going, and eventually it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, even for you, it's been as close as whether you're going in or you're going out. It's been that close.
That's what I'm saying.
You.
I mean, we're missing each other.
Yeah.
You know, I've been like, I should go to this stand, and I go there, and he walks over here, and then I go over here, and he's over there, and it's like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. The guy's batting 100 right now. He's got to miss eventually.
Exactly.
Yep.
One of these times, I thought I had him last year. I saw him, and in the last 2 years, I've seen him twice for a combined total of like 30 seconds of actual like viewing of him while I'm deer hunting. But yeah, it's the trail cameras and technology have really changed the game. Some for good, and I think some for bad.
Yeah, the nostalgia I hate. I've got one property. It's a little 6-acre piece. I refuse to put a camera on it because every time I go in there and I see the scrape and I see the rubs, it's cool to just have the imagination go back.
Well, this is like when we went to Kentucky last year.
Oh,
right?
I love that.
And it was
I
like,
love that. Other than everyone else's trail cameras everywhere, I couldn't go pee without being violated. God.
Yeah,
they're not going to see anything anyhow.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it was early season. I didn't have a lot of clothes.
That's why
on,
Kansas next year they don't allow trail cameras on public land.
But yeah, no, that was fun. That Kentucky trip was back
that's
to the
why
roots.
It's fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just never know.
It's like fishing a new lake. That's what I always say. It's like you don't know what's in there. I'm going to figure it out, and that's the fun part. So,
well, Kurt, the one thing I'll say about Kurt is no matter where I'm going, whether I'm in the car or whatever we're doing,
you think about me.
No, dude, you always got a story. You love this stuff. You're passionate about this stuff. You eat this stuff up. I mean, quite frankly, that's dude, it just vibes off you. It's fun. It's fun to get around people who just they have that extra energy.
Youth, Todd.
We got a problem.
He's not married either. He's not married. He's got no kids.
Were you going to do that on the air today? No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, it's always fun to be around you. We definitely want to make sure that we get you back here. And if anyone watches this and has more questions for Kurt, you live close enough, we'll get you back on this.
People were asking questions. Where's Kurt?
Yeah.
He's
it was like 4 episodes in a row.
Where's Kurt?
I sent a screenshot to Todd, like, you better start releasing my spike bug video before the pitchforks and fire comes up.
We've got a bunch. I'm going to go over that with Brandon later today. We got a lot of hunts we got to get going. We got a lot of hunts. They're coming. Our production's been a little bit slower this year, but it's okay. We got them. We're busy. We're doing the best that we can do.
We're hunting.
Most importantly, though, if you have a big buck for me and Justin to hunt here locally in McHenry County, don't forget to give us a call, and we will be there. And
anywhere, I'd say northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin.
Yeah, just give us a call and
just plot on a map like a 3-hour radius around Huntley, Illinois. If you're anywhere within 3-hour drive of Huntley and you have deer,
and you've got a lease and you've got a buck that's just really irritating you, give us a call.
Yeah, we'll come take pictures of him.
No, I'll take the pictures, and then you can win the episode for trophy photos.
All right, guys. Well, Kurt, as always, thank you so much for being in here. Thank you for being such a loyal teammate and all the good bucks that you put down. We do appreciate it.
Thank
so we
you
want
guys.
you to know that if we haven't told you that.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks, Kurt. We love you.
Anytime. I'm sorry I couldn't grunt better,
Try it one more time for us.
Dude,
just come on. Just no one's even looking.
Yeah, I can't.
Dude, that wasn't bad.
No, it's not good. I can usually
Dude.
get it to pop back there. It's totally the liquid death.
One more time.
100%.
Just come on. You
Tom,
got this.
I'm not,
we're never gonna get him as a sponsor if you talk shit about him, Kurt.
No, it's liquid death. It's great.
Okay, do a turkey call then real quick.
Yeah, see,
that sounds like I could do that.
Exactly.
We thought you were better with your mouth,
Liquid death is not the way to
2004 talent show winner right here, guys.
It's been 20 years.